Welcome, welcome, welcome to ASMR Chess. Today we will relax with a beautiful game of chess that we will study a bit. With the black pieces in this beautiful little gem of chess history, we have the magician from Riga, Mikhail Tal, playing against a master by the name of Mileika in the 1953 Latvian Championship. Mikhail Tal was only 16 years old when he faced the first move, pawn to d4. Against this, he played in a very usual manner. No surprises from the magician just yet, but they will come. Oh, they will come. He played knight to f6, and you can see that this square lights up green. It does so because this is the ChessUp 2 board that we are using, and it is connected to my phone here, and the phone is running the most powerful chess analysis software. It comes with the app, with the ChessUp app, and then the phone communicates to the chessboard, and the chessboard will say, okay, if a move is green, that means it's a top move in the position. If a move is blue, it means it's a good move. If it's red, it's a mistake or even a blunder. So do you think 16-year-old Mikhail Tal will blunder in this game? Yeah, so that is how that works, if you did not already know. In this position, Tal with the black pieces faced the most natural move, pawn to c4, and we know that c4 is explosive. Boom. So this is a very common setup in chess. Before we continue with the game, I'd like to explain why I've chosen this particular game to study for this relaxing session. This is about that curious thing that happens when geniuses play chess. And one of the players can see, I'm going to lose, there's nothing I can do, and they will resign the game rather than play on to checkmate. I can understand that they don't want to delay the inevitable. They have lost. They want to get out of the room and drown their sorrows. Of course. But if we are not a genius, and you are a genius probably, but I'm not. So sometimes I'm a little bit confused, thinking like, why did they resign in that position? Can't you play on? And what I'm going to do here is, with this game, when it ends, it's a very far away from checkmate, 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 checkmate. But since the board can show me the perfect moves to play, I'm going to finish the game where both sides play completely accurately to see, is it really correct to sacrifice, not to sacrifice, but to resign in this position, in the final position, and how would the game have ended, so we can understand why they resigned. In this position, 16-year-old Tal played the Benoni with pawn to c5, immediately challenging this pawn. And if we touch the pawn, we can see that it is blue to capture this pawn. Looks like it's an undefended pawn. It's blue, you can do it, But what's the green move? The green move is to advance the pawn. So the pawn advances to d5. That is the correct move to play in this position. Because if you go for this pawn here on the side, you will not have enough power in the center, and black will be able to take the center. And the center is a theme in all games of chess. And we will see Tal work some magic in this game to see if he can claim that black can really take control of the center in this game. He starts out with pawn to e6, not a green move, but an absolutely playable and theoretical move. Pawn to e6, immediately challenging this pawn here in the center. This is all theory. This has been played many times. We know it's fine for white if white plays what it says in the books to play. But Mileika was inspired at the board to come up with a new idea. And rather than playing one of the standard moves like knight coming to the green square c3, reinforcing this pawn and developing very naturally, Mileika chose a different path and played a different move. Pawn to g3, and we notice it's a green move. So it had not been played before in the position. Had not been played before, but maybe it's genius at work here. Maybe it is. What is the idea? The idea is to put this bishop on this square and be on the long diagonal here, potentially attacking this rook and influencing the two white center squares. The two center squares. It's all about the center. Control the center, control the universe. But Tal notices something here. So I don't know if you've watched a bunch of my other videos and know this already, but Tal was a chess genius. Even at 16 years old, he became the youngest world champion in history. Later, at the age of 24, but he was like a particular kind of chess genius. He was a madman, and he was all about attacks and sacrifices. And this is a very interesting game in that regard from Tal to understand his development as a player. He senses that something's off with this move, just a little tiny thing, and immediately he tries to prove that something is wrong with it. So he's not from here playing standard moves. He is playing this concrete position. And what he does is he plays pawn takes pawn here. You can see it's a green move. Pawn takes d5. Now, normally, that's a little bit of a controversial idea, because this pawn here is a king pawn. It's supposed to be a center pawn, and what he's really doing is he's promoting this offside pawn off to the side, this flank pawn, into a center pawn. So we see the green move, c4 takes d5, like so. And now white has two center pawns and black only has one. So what is the point? What is he really going to do from here? Why is he playing like this? And here comes a little bit of a shocker. He's playing to control the center, but the way he does it is by playing pawn to b5, which looks like it's absolutely not part of the center, right? But what these pawns are really doing is that they are taking a page out of the books on the Benoni opening, where even though we have an original position already that was not in the books at the time, of course, after this game, something may have changed, who knows, but at the time it was not in the books. But he's saying some of these ideas that were in the books, maybe I can use them. And there's a lot of pushing this pawn to b5 to actually make it very difficult for the queen side of white here to find good squares from where they can defend the center. So he's preparing to undermine the defense of the center already before he's even figuring out what pieces he wants to try to control the center with. It's a very strong move. This has to be challenged immediately. And master player Mileika understands this and challenges this pawn immediately with the move pawn to a4. And maybe your inclination could be to play this pawn off to a6 in order to defend, right? But let's take a look and see what color square we will get. Whoops, that's a red square. Why would that be? Imagine that you put the pawn on a6 and white just ignores it, captures this pawn, and you recapture. That means that this pawn has changed color to being white, and these two has that means that these two pawns in effect just disappear off the board, and we have the same position, right? And it's white to move. And then this rook can come and capture this rook with these two pawns gone, if you can imagine that in your mind's eye. So Tal is not defending the pawn. Look here, he is not capturing, but the green move here, advancing the pawn even further. Now it's on b4. And from here, it attacks c3, meaning you can see here the knight cannot come to c3, cannot come to these red squares. It would just be captured. Before I show you the next move of the game, I want to have a little spiel here. Jeff, who invented this board, Jeff Y, is an awesome guy, has been very kind and given me a promo code so that if you want the board, you, as an ASMR chess viewer, can get a discount of 10%. So if you want the board, you know, after the video, you can go to the description. There is a link and a little promo code. And so if you buy it, it will, at checkout, it will take 10% away. And you'll be supporting my channel as well. So just a little thing there. Now, what is white going to play here? There is a lot of control over what squares? The dark squares. This pawn controls here, this pawn controls here. And that is one of the problems that that white is really facing here. So white has this advanced pawn and has this extra pawn here that can come in the center, but the dark squares are very hard to control, which is the reason for this next move, pawn to b3. What is that about? What that is about is this bishop can now come here and, lo and behold, exercise influence and help control the dark squares in the center of the board. But Tal is not letting go. He is continuing this theme of using the flank, first the flank on the queen side. Now he goes over to playing g6 with the idea of putting the bishop on g7 to exercise flank control from the king side as well on the dark squares. Imagine when this bishop lands here, the knight can go away and the bishop can even come and look at the rook. And in this little position here, we see a bit of a mistake. So the correct move is bishop coming to the green square there on b2. That's the correct move. Okay? Coming here. That's the correct move. To prophylactically, that means in advance, defend against the strong bishop coming here. But Mileika sees a threat against this rook and thinks, well, I am ahead in development. I moved first, I have the white pieces, so I can get my bishop there first. And it is also a green square, but this is one of the situations where the chess engine, the AI, is not completely perfect. When we are this early in the game, there can be situations where the AI is not completely correct in evaluating what's going on. And we will see in the game, and it will start to understand it very, very soon, we will see in the game why. So this move here comes with a very dangerous threat. This move comes with an idea of just pushing this pawn one square. And if this pawn has moved one square, this bishop can now see this rook, and you can't save the rook. There's no way to protect it. You could put something in front of the rook, but we would also just capture that. Takes. So in order to protect that, we can see that all these moves, they are all going to be red. They're all going to be red. There's like one that's blue, but it's, but there's only going to be one green move, and that is going to be this one, advancing this pawn to the green square on d6, blocking this pawn. So now it cannot advance. So what does the engine think of the position right now? So you can actually see here, I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but there's a little bar with white and black in the bottom there, and that is Stockfish telling us what it thinks exactly about the position. And if you can't see, I can tell you that it evaluates the position as being minus 0.75. That means that black has an advantage of 75% of the value of a pawn. So black is already very comfortable now and has had an apparently perfect response to this very early bishop to g2 idea. White is thinking here, Mileika is thinking here, that with this bishop here, he has a perfect way to solidify his center, and he plays pawn coming to e4, not a green move. We notice that's not a green move. Coming to e4, pawn is protected by the bishop. Everything should be, on paper, very good. You have two center pawns, you have more control in the center, you control more of the center of the board even in your opponent's camp. Wow, yeah. But what is it that you are not really defending? That is the black squares. Look at these pawns. They're all very strong. And there's going to be a green move here, which is bishop coming to g7, this square here. And now, as soon as this knight moves, well, this bishop will be attacking down here on the rook. It looks like trouble. It looks like black is getting control of the dark squares. But wait a minute, not so fast. His opponent says. His opponent plays bishop coming to b2, a green move. Looks perfectly all right. Now this bishop counteracts this bishop. Indeed, absolutely. But Tal, who is this attacking maniac, and who is this person who always goes for the attack, always goes for the sacrifices and stuff, is sitting so calmly on this little advantage he has here of a little, say, 3/4 of a pawn, and he's just castling. He's just castling his king away. Because now the king protects the bishop. That's an important detail. It will be clear a little bit later why that's important. And also the rook now can come to the e file here with an attack. The knight here would love to go to f3, but that's only a blue move. Why? Well, if the knight does go to f3 here, it will block this bishop. It will block this bishop. And then the bishop can no longer see the pawn on e4. And we could come in and capture the pawn. And that looks like a great deal of trouble for white. Which is why the green move is putting the knight on e2 here. Okay, on e2 is where we put the knight. And yeah, I forgot to say earlier, by the way, I forgot to say that if you don't know this chessboard and you think that you can only like analyze games with it like I'm doing now, so you think maybe it's not for you, you know, I'll be quiet about it after this, but I'm just going to say that you can also, it says chess.com here, you can also play online against people with your chess.com account like you would on a computer, but you're playing against on the board. Okay, enough of that. I have loads of videos where you can see me try that out and how that works. Okay. Against this, we see the next point of castling, which is that the rook can now come to the e file, rook to e1, with a coordinated attack with the knight and the bishop. The knight and the rook here are attacking here. It is only defended once by this bishop, which explains the next move. Again, this knight would very much like to come here, but it will just be captured by this pawn. And Mileika thinks that it's okay to instead put the knight here on d2, but that's a red square. And you can really see in this game why these knights usually want to be on these squares, and you can see how Tal has played in such a way to discourage them from being there on this side by saying this bishop is a poor defender here, because it necessitates that there is an unblocked path to defend here, so the knight can't be here, and that's what these knight and rook moves concentrating on the center here is about. And here it cannot come here because of these pawn moves. If the knight could come here, probably we could have a game, but like if the knight comes here, and it looks okay, it does look okay, but it isn't. But if the knight comes here, it does protect the pawn, and the pawn is protected twice and only attacked twice. So shouldn't that be good enough? No, because of the dark squares. So Tal, who has been sitting on this positional advantage and just improving it very slowly, senses with his sharp tactical mind that there is a killer move here, and it's not necessarily terribly difficult to figure out. So maybe you can give it a go. Let me know in the comments if you found this move. Knight coming to capture the pawn on e4, a green move and a winning move. Knight takes pawn. And why would a master allow this? If you're going to capture this knight back, you'll just come in and capture this bishop, and then you will have no control over the dark squares. Notice this rook in many cases pinning this knight, meaning that we can put our bishop here or here, it can't capture, so we can't really come in and capture this knight here because we're going to lose the bishop. But isn't the solution just going to be to first play bishop takes bishop? Isn't that going to be the solution? And after king takes bishop, then we take the knight. No, because Tal does not capture the bishop. He captures the knight. Here, green move again, capturing the knight. And here it's clear, if we come in and capture this knight, the king will capture this bishop. That's the other point of castling earlier, so that the bishop was defended, right? So we're not coming in and capturing the knight. White is recognizing that this knight has no captures from here, and actually has no squares where it cannot be captured. The only thing it really has would be this, where it's defended, but it cannot go here, here, or even here, or here, or here. Which explains this idea. So this is what Mileika was banking on, putting the bishop on h6 with an attack on the knight like this instead, and also being ready to come back to the defense and look at the dark squares. But that was a red move. You had to capture the knight here, but in fact, if we take a look at what Stockfish says about this position, where in reality white is only down one pawn, how good is the position? Well, according to Stockfish, this position is minus 6.3, meaning that positionally black is up by more than 6 pawns, not just one, because the position is so good. And what is the killer idea? What is the killer idea? The killer idea is to take this bishop and put it on this green square, g4, like so, not moving the knight. Not moving the knight. Because you cannot, as white, capture the knight after this move. That's pure Tal. You cannot capture the knight. He's just leaving it there, seemingly undefended. But what happens if you capture it? You capture it with the queen. Is that a good idea? Well, it says it's a good idea, but that's because the position is hopeless. But queen takes knight, rook takes a knight here, defended by the bishop, check to the king, king moves, and we capture the queen, or queen takes, and then bishop takes, and white is going to lose the queen, and it could be the best move technically, because it's the way you can postpone checkmate the longest, but it leaves you with absolutely no counter chances. You are absolutely not going to win that game ever. Especially not against Tal, 16-year-old or not. So Mileika decides that this rook is very strong and it's the cause of all his problems. And he's thinking, no, but it's okay because I am so clever. Look at me, I'm so clever. I have this bishop that I saved particularly or specifically for being able to coming back and help with the defense. And I will come back here. I'm not capturing the knight. I'm coming here so that this knight can now, or to block this rook here, not the knight can't move exactly right now, but this queen is ready now to come in and capture this knight so that the pin will be broken, we will win the knight, and everything will be good. Except it will not. So there's this huge crushing advantage that black has, but you have to find the correct moves. And the first one is kind of beautiful. It's not rocket science here, because this square is attacked twice, only defended once. So the knight can escape there. Knight coming to f3, the green move, the only knight move that's good, and it's check. So the knight is captured, the best move, even though it's still losing. And bishop captures on f3, also the green move, with an attack on the rook. Here you can actually castle. It's actually legal for white to castle in this position, because only the rook is attacked. The king will not move over any attacked squares or land on an attacked square. But the problem is that if you castle your king here, the queen will go to the white squares, to the light squares, come into h3, and come here and checkmate the king. And there's no way to defend against it. So instead of castling, getting the rook out like that, we see rook to g1. And from this position, we can see how we can sort of evaluate how everything has gone for white. So the pride and joy of white's position was this early d-pawn looking on the black side of the board, and the point was that we wanted, as white, the e-pawn to come and support it. That's all gone, and this pawn isn't doing anything. By contrast, white is squeezed down. And even though not many pieces are really developed for black, the ones that are just boxing in white on these squares, and the king has no escape. So now let's call in the cavalry, the knight. That was a terrible horse sound, I'm sorry. But knight to d7, with the knight being able to come to f6 and attack here and get closer to the king and aid in the attack. Queen comes to d2 to be able to castle away, just trying to get the king out of the center, right? But black keeps his foot on the gas pedal. Tal plays knight to f6. On f6, it's attacking this pawn, and white says, well, I only have one way to defend it. I have the queen here, but you also have this. I need to defend it one more time, and I will go here with the knight. But that knight is not stable there. Can you come up with a move, with an idea? Can you come up with something that would move this knight away, kick this knight away? Very good, very good. You can actually just play pawn to g5, and it says that's a red move. So I'll just go and take a look why that would be. Okay, I just spent a little time there analyzing and figured out that the queen coming here to d7, or indeed even c7, in order to double up the rooks, is an even more precise way of playing than what black did, what Tal did in this position. But it doesn't mean that this move is actually bad, because this move, so the position now says it's -8, and after this move coming here, the position is -4, which is still absolutely crushing. And the knight went back, the only move. And actually, after looking at Tal's move for a little bit, the engine comes right back up and says actually this is -7.6. So yeah, cannot always trust the engines blindly. You have to investigate for yourself. Now this pawn here could be captured. You could capture it with the knight, but it's not a green move. You could capture it with the bishop. It's certainly not a green move. But you could also just keep involving pieces in the attack and attack this pawn with a third piece, which would be the rook coming to e5, which is a very, very cool move. Of course, threatening to just come in and capture the pawn with an attack on the queen. So what goes on here is that white castles the best move, trying to get the king out of the center. It looks like something has been achieved, and now the queen and the rook are lined up against the defense here. Maybe we can defend this. In reality, no, because you can see how cramped this is. Like all of this, like actually just this pawn, this pawn, this pawn, these pawns, they are not really doing anything. The entirety of white's army is here, this little bit, and everything else is super attacked. So this small island here, if you can imagine just this part here as a small island on the chessboard, and that is what white has been reduced to. It's very, very cramped. If you look at this move, the knight coming in could capture here, but could also, with a green move, go here with an attack against the queen. And the queen will have to move. We cannot run away to capture the knight. The queen goes to c2. But here is the end of the first part of the game, which is the part that they played, and then we will figure out why the game actually ended. So what happened here was that simply bishop takes knight. Of course, that has to be recaptured. Queen takes bishop. But this allows the fork, knight coming to c3, forking the queen and the rook. And actually, white resigned the game here because they're going to lose the exchange. But is it really that bad? Isn't there a way to fight? This pawn has been advanced. Maybe if we save the queen, maybe we can somehow mount an attack against the king. So here we are going to let the computer finish the game where it plays against itself. And we will, of course, play out the moves on the board so we will understand why this game ended here. So I will touch the queen. I'm sure the green move is a queen move, and we can actually choose between b2 and d3. They are equally good. So I think we will try d3. Looks like the most natural one, and I'm pretty sure that the green move is going to be knight takes rook. It is indeed knight takes rook. So now black is up a pawn, and in exchange the rook is worth 5 pawns, and our knight is going to be recaptured worth 3. So black is up 3 pawns after the recapture. Well, by the rook, which makes a lot of sense. So there is a difference in material, as we would say, of 3 pawns, but what about position? Well, Stockfish is saying this is -8, so yeah, very different. Okay. What will black do now? I'm guessing a queen move. We have a green queen move here, with the queen coming to f6, and that makes a lot of sense because of the dark squared diagonal here. The diagonal. Right? So the queen comes to f6. So as soon as this rook moves, we can get a queen a1 check in, for instance. Is it a king move? Trying maybe to go to king to b1? No, that's only blue. Queen move? No good queen moves. Rook move? No good rook moves. Bishop move? No good bishop moves. So maybe it's something about trying to undermine this pawn, maybe with pawn to h4. There it is. Pawn to h4 is the correct move for white. Trying to undermine this. So what will we do in this position? Is it going to be rook takes bishop, queen takes bishop, queen here, check? Probably not. No. All red. Are we going to just capture the pawn? No, but we can advance the pawn. Some queen moves? No. So actually, the only move here really in this position is pawn to g4. Just cutting it down, saying, no, you're not going to get anywhere near my king here. I'm not opening this position up. This position is exactly how I want it. So what will white play now? King move? No. Rook move? No. Queen move? No. Bishop move? Okay, there's one move here. Attacking the rook with the bishop. Bishop coming to f4. This is kind of fun. Where will the rook go? We will touch the rook to see if it's a rook move. It should be a rook move, right? Whoa. Isn't that a sacrifice? The rook comes to e2, where it can be captured by the queen, and the queen is going to capture that. That's amazing. Let's take a look. Queen captures the rook. And I guess there's a queen move here that kills. Yes, it's the check. Queen check. King has to move. Can't go here for some reason. Probably we can checkmate there with king. With king to d2 we have queen c3 checkmate. So the queen has to go here. But now we can still check on c3. But that's not what we are doing. There is a very particular line here. So we go to a2 with check. Again, the king has to move. Where will the king go? Can go backwards or forwards. And I would say going backwards, like so. Because, no, I would say going forwards, because otherwise we just capture the queen. But we can go here to protect the queen. If you just go back, queen takes queen is easily winning. Now you're down a queen for a bishop. So we go here to protect the queen. This queen is just causing havoc. I will guess it's capturing this pawn here. Yes, which is check. Queen takes with check. And now we are actually getting that because the king cannot go to d2, because if the king comes to d2 here, then queen to c3 is checkmate. So now the only other move is king to e4. And what would you play? I believe there is a move here that kills. So I think it's a rook move, and it is a rook move. Rook coming to e8 with check. And it's about to pick up the queen. So we can move the king, or we can interpose the bishop. And it likes interposing the bishop. Giving the bishop up for no compensation, apparently, is better than just moving the king here. So why is that? Just moving the king here. We capture the queen. And it's going to be, we move the king here, maybe even just queen takes here is going to be checkmate. So this delays checkmate further, but I'm not going to play this even though it's green, because obviously if I do this, rook takes bishop, king moves, and rook takes queen, and we have a rook and a queen versus a rook. That is of course absolutely winning for black in a trivial way. So instead, I will see what the checkmate is if we come here. And I'm guessing it's queen takes d5. It is not. So I guess I have to capture the queen. Yeah, I have to capture the queen. Okay, I do capture the... Oh, of course, the pawn is defended. Okay. I've been recording for an hour now. The pawn is defended by the rook. Okay. But we didn't give up the bishop, and we're threatening this. So what can white do? It can sacrifice the rook for no reason. Oh. But it has to, because I'm threatening the rook now, and the rook can't go here or here because these squares are attacked. This rook controls here, the queen controls here, the pawn controls here, and if I stay, queen takes, and if there's no way to defend it. Is there any other green move? No. No. So the computer says that the way to stave off checkmate for the longest here is this checkmate in one. It's not checkmate in one, but it's checkmate very, very soon. If so, going here, we just capture that, of course. And now, what will white do? Capture here, right? But queen can come in. It's just a king hunt, but we will finish this off for the satisfaction of checkmate and the cool little animation that comes on the board. Now the king will have to. Computers. I'm not playing any of these moves. Like, they may be the best, but they're just delaying. They're not doing anything. I'll try to escape with the king like this. Capture here, no problem. Bishop goes here, I guess. Check. Here. Check. And here, only move, and are you ready for the finish? Checkmate. Okay, so I hope that was a good demonstration of why that game ended where it did. You could really see the squeeze that black played some pretty normal moves, and white didn't have any squares to react to the threats, right? So they didn't have any control of the game. So even though they were only down 3 points, it was in reality much, much, much worse than that. So that's the video. If you like what I do on the channel, you can support me on patreon.com/ASMRchess. You can get some weekly puzzles. You can get on the Discord. There are sometimes exclusive videos, early access to videos, and just a cool community with a lot of awesome people. We hang out in the Discord and chat about chess and life and everything. I hope you had a great time. I hope you're fast asleep, and I hope that I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.